Okay, thanks everybody for coming to the Paratransit Coordinating Committee, January 16th. I'm Stephen Schmitz. We'll just do our introductions. I'm Stephen Schmitz. I'm chair for the committee.
Chris Barney, SCTA, RCPA.
Ahmed Ali, MB Transportation, the Santa Rosa Paratransit, in place of Yuri. He's not working today, so I'll cover his part.
Go ahead.
Trey Nichols, SCTA, RCPA.
Dana Trey, SCTA, RCPA.
Okay, and then folks online,
Kathleen Cortez, Human Services Area Agency on Aging.
Don Gaffney, Goldgate Bridge Highway and Transportation District.
Charles Smith, Sonoma County Transit.
Russ Glendenin, Sonoma County Transportation Authority.
okay. Thanks everybody again for being here. Let's go on to item 2, which is public comments for any items that are not on the regular agenda. If you want to make a comment, just raise your hand if you're online, or just go ahead and let me know in the room.
There's no members of the public on Zoom.
Okay. Well, so there's no member of the public here. But there we go. I don't have to wait I'm not going to spend too much time waiting to.
Yeah.
We
Thanks for
scheduled two of them, both of them canceled.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Drew. All right, well then, moving along to, we can't approve the meeting notes, right? Hey, right
There we
on.
go.
It's like,
We're looking for only one person.
Sorry, guys, a little reindeer to go a little slower.
So yeah, it does look like we have a forum
yeah.
in the room. We just got through introductions.
Okay.
And we need to read out the exemption language.
Thank you very much. We need to find it.
Thank you.
See how often do this remember, because I don't have this here. All right, so now that we have a quorum, just want to read into the record that Kathleen Cortez had emailed me prior, asking for an exemption to participate virtually. We did find that it was valid, so we're going to let Kathleen participate virtually. Rules being, you need to keep your mic and cameras on through the duration of the meeting. And then also, are there anyone under the age of 18?
Will you shut the door for me, please?
we just get bomb? Is that?
No.
I'll just swap the microphone.
Yeah. And then, so when we do voting, we'll just need to do roll call of the members here.
Okay. So the members being
1, 2,
Mohammed,
3.
Maria,
Okay,
Kathleen.
so we'll do roll now.
Yeah, for vote, for
For
action
votes.
item.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, I've never done this.
Yeah.
So we're on item, so
So I just,
So,
are
yeah.
you doing it or am I doing it?
I'll do it.
Okay.
So for item 3 on the approval of the meeting notes from July 18, 23, I just need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
And then we'll start with Maria Arce,
Here.
and then your vote.
Yes.
Level introduction and vote at the same time, right?
Maria, Petaluma Transit, and yes.
And then Mohammed Ali from MD Transport, Santa Rosa City Bus.
Yes.
Stephen Schmitz, Sonoma County Transit.
Here and yes.
And then Kathleen Cortez with Area
Yes.
Aging. Already we see that passing. And now back to you, Chair Schmitz.
Okay, thanks very much. On to item number 4, administrative items.
If you'd
Yeah.
like me to just run through these,
Yeah.
I can do that, or if you'd like to introduce each topic, we can.
But you can go ahead and run.
Okay, so item A is committee of the whole meeting notes from November 21st, 2023. We did not have a quorum at that meeting, so this is just for information. Does anybody have any comments? All right, so we'll move on to item 4B. At the first meeting of the year, I like to just give an update on our membership. I'm also bringing our bylaws as a just informational item, a reminder. So our current membership roster is in the link there and attached in your agenda packet on page 8. As you can see, we are down quite a bit in membership for a couple of reasons. You know, when we started coming back to in-person meetings last March, there were a number of folks who had been joining who stopped or kind of slowed down joining our meetings. And we also, since we had difficulties meeting a quorum, we made a decision to take people off their membership status if they had not shown up for a meeting in more than 6 months. And you know, we notified the folks that we took off the membership list and let them know that we're happy to have them back anytime. They just need to ask and we could bring it as an item to the committee. But this is a practice that we've had with other committees, and we kind of found it was necessary in order to be able to have quorums at the meetings. So anyhow, we have 7 active members of the committee, or yeah, and some of the agencies have a number of staff folks that can act as the member of the committee. We did put out an announcement in our newsletter that just went out last week about recruiting for members for this committee. We did get one interest form that came in today, so hopefully by our next meeting we'll have at least one other person who's interested in becoming a member. But yeah, for the transit agencies and other and area agency and aging, I mean, I encourage all of you, if you know of anybody who might be interested in serving on this committee, we would love to have them. And we have a number of categories that we're supposed to fill in this committee and are currently vacant. Any questions or comments on membership?
What's the deadline to submit? So you want to be a member?
Anytime really, but
Okay.
if we are going to bring it to the committee and have it on the agenda, we need it, we need someone's interest a couple weeks in advance of the meeting. And it's always great if somebody can, you know, join as a member of the public, maybe at least once beforehand. It's not a requirement, but just so that, you know, they have an understanding of what the committee is about and can kind of confirm that they're interested.
And then just would it be referring them to you or?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
For the rosters for Sonoma County Transit, for example, is it? This is gonna sound weird, but is it limited to 3 people?
No,
Okay.
if you would like to add Charles on there or
Right.
anybody else, that's
Okay.
fine. You know, basically Sonoma County Transit gets 1 vote, so
Right, so whoever's
here,
Yeah.
or if there's multiple of you here, you could designate 1 person to
Yeah.
be the voting member.
I'd like to add Charles.
Okay.
to our list.
Yeah, and since you brought that up, does anybody else have any? Want to add any alternates? You can mention it now or send me an email if you'd like to.
Dana, I have one for our agency.
Okay,
Her name is Andrea. Last name is Pickett, Pickett, and she's going to be my alternate.
okay, great. Thank you. All right, then just move on to for C, which is the bylaws for this committee. They're included in your agenda packet starting on page 9. These are just here for your information. They haven't changed for a while. Let's see, they were last amended in March 2022. If anybody has any questions or comments on the bylaws, could bring that up. All right. Then let's move on to item 4D, which is a schedule of committee meetings for all of the committees held at SCTA and RCPA for 2024. This is again just for your information. This committee meets on the 3rd Tuesday of every other month. So we do need to meet 6 times a year. And so if we do end up having to cancel one of those meetings, we'll reschedule it for another time. Any comments or questions on that? All right, now we'll move on to the fun one, which is item 4E, election of officers. At the first committee meeting of each year, we elect a chair and vice chair of the committee. And we have had Stephen Schmidt serve as chair and Muhammad Ali serve as vice chair during 2023. At that time, we discussed informally that it would be great to rotate it each year and share the responsibility. There are, like I said, six meetings a year, so it's not too heavy of a lift. I put together the agendas and then share it with the chair and ask for any additional items or comments on it ahead of the meeting. And I don't know, Stephen, you could speak more to the role if you'd like.
Well, it's just exhausting. I mean, it's just another thing added to my plate. No, obviously, yeah, Dana's right. I mean, most of it is the staff level work and they prep everything for you and you just kind of go through the agenda and run the meeting and you're good to go. So I know that Mohammed, you are the vice chair, so sometimes traditionally the vice chair moves up to chair to take their turn. Not sure if you have any.
I would stay as it is. I would stay with the vice chair.
Stay as the vice chair.
I can stay with that, yeah.
Do we need to make, well, we should probably start with the chair first, right?
Yeah, why don't we start with the chair?
And I think there's only a couple other people. There's one person in the room and one person virtually that might be able to serve that role. Or I could serve that role again.
Do you have to get nominated? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to nominate Maria as the chair.
All right.
Yes, yes, okay. I'm already messing with my first duty. Kathleen, no, we're just gonna- yeah. No, yeah, it would be a wonderful opportunity, I think, to continue this meeting, and be an active member, so I appreciate it.
Great.
Yeah.
I think you'll do a great job.
No, thank you. And I'll bug you, so I don't mess it up. Dana.
So.
I do need a second.
We need to,
I'll
a
second.
second. And then do we do a roll call vote? Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead and do that.
All right, we'll go Mohammed Ali from MV Transport Santa Rosa City Bus. Maria Arce from Petaluma Transit.
Yes.
Kathleen Cortez from Area Agency on Aging.
Yes.
And Chair Stephen Schmitz from Sonoma County Transit.
Yes.
No, Vice Chair.
Right,
Now, we
now
don't
can
have to
the
do
vice
any.
chair.
Oh, we still need to do it. even
Yeah.
though
At least
it's-
for the record.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, and it's, yeah.
well, I'll nominate Mohammed as the vice chair
I
for another
second.
year.
I'll accept it.
Maria Arce.
Yeah.
Mohammed Ali.
Yes.
Kathleen Cortez.
Yes.
Stephen Schmitz.
Yes,
We see the nominations passing.
okay. Thanks very much, Maria and Mohammed.
Thank you.
I can't wait to get my cake. Can I get a cake?
Should add that to the bylaws.
I don't have a cake, but I have that.
Okay.
Wait, did you say cake or cake?
Cake.
Oh,
Or both. Why
well,
not?
yeah,
Both.
a cake would be kind of cool.
Well, thank you, Stephen, for serving as chair.
My pleasure. Yeah.
2023, that's. We appreciate it and did a great job. So.
Okay, so moving on to item number 5, community-based transportation planning. And is that,
That'll be me.
that'll be you, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And a number of you may have already seen this presentation, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get that up for everyone. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, so I'm here today to just give you an update on our community-based transportation planning efforts that will be kicking off this year in Santa Rosa and Rohnert Park. And just to provide a little bit of background about the program, it's a regional program. So MTC provides funding to look at equity priority areas or disadvantaged areas across the region and work with those communities to identify transportation gaps and issues, and then come up with a list of potential solutions, right? Like projects and different programs that can help address those gaps. So I noticed that we have a little bit of a cameo from our previous chair on this photo from one of our previous meetings.
Every time I look at that, I have to do a double take. We're Aldo, right?
Yeah.
You see me there?
Is that?
There
In
we go,
the
right there.
third row there, right?
Yeah, that's me right there.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
I don't want to know what year that is.
I was just gonna ask.
it's sometime between 2009 and 2017, so in that block. But I don't recognize this room at all.
I don't either. I've been. That's what's
Yeah.
been. Yeah. I don't
Is that
either.
pedal?
Where that
No.
is?
Is it,
Is that Petaluma?
I don't think so. Maybe though.
It might be at the community center. in Petaluma.
Yeah, it could be.
Looks like library.
or
Does look
the,
like that.
Healdsburg Community Center?
It could be, yeah, because we did do a plan in Healdsburg. So anyway, this is a picture of one of the community meetings that we conducted as part of previous community-based transportation plans that we've put together. So, and as I said before, the focus of the program is to really improve access and mobility for those underserved populations. The geographic focus is on equity priority communities. These were previously known as disadvantaged communities by MTC. So they've mapped these out. They've used census data and statistics to actually identify those areas, looking at income and other factors as well. So, and the real focus is to get out into the community and identify transportation barriers and issues, and then work on coming up with a list of solutions identified by the community. And there's been some effort in the past to prioritize those as well. So here's a look at equity priority communities in the North Bay and part of the region. You can see there's quite a focus on Santa Rosa and central Sonoma County, with a few equity priority areas in the Sonoma Springs area along Highway 12 and also the Russian River area. So we've also already studied a number of these locations in the past. We conducted a CBTP planning process in the Santa Rosa Roseland area, the Russian River area, the Springs area of Sonoma Valley, and also central Healdsburg. So in the past, portions of Healdsburg, according to the census data, showed up as a disadvantaged area. So all of those plans are actually available on the CBTP website. So if you go to the CBTP section of the SCTA website, it'll take you to the MTC section that actually has all of those
There's a lot of
linked.
letters here.
I know. I need to slow down.
No.
I think everyone, yeah. Let me know if any of those need to be spelled out specifically, but on that regional website, it includes all of our plans, but also the plans for other counties and areas across the region. So if you're interested in what they're doing there. So there's been a lot of planning done. Looking back the last 5 or 10 years, a lot of these are relatively old. The Roseland Plan was conducted in 2008 and adopted in 2009, I believe. Does that sound right, Dana?
Yeah.
And then the Russian River, Sonoma Valley, and Healdsburg plans were adopted in the 2010 to 2012 timeframe. So they're, somewhat dated. But as part of our last comprehensive transportation plan update, Dana was able to go through all of the plans, pull out all of those project lists, and provide an update on where we're at. So what was actually adopted and what's still outstanding. So we have that available as a resource.
Is that on the CBTP website?
That's on our comprehensive transportation plan website. So it's one of the appendices to that document. Okay. And this is important because those projects are eligible for certain funding sources. So the Lifeline Transportation Plan, or the Lifeline Transportation Funding Program, was one particular program that could fund those projects. And there's a new evolution of that program called the CARE program that's coming online now. And we should see a call for projects for that program coming out sometime early this year. So they could tap into and help fund those projects. So these are the types of projects that have been identified: transit routes and stops. Route 19 in Santa Rosa was identified in the Roseland Plan. It's no longer known as Route 19, but that service for the Roseland area was actually identified and funded through that program. So one success story. But simple things, even as small as stop improvements, right? And including benches and things like that. Improved transit headways have showed up in these plans: bicycle and pedestrian improvements, improved sidewalk connections, traveler information, and safety improvements. So there's a broad range of different types of projects and programs that have been identified in the CBTPs. Also, as part of our last comprehensive transportation plan, we did a countywide outreach effort, recognizing that sometimes disadvantage isn't located just in one concentrated area. There's disadvantage and poverty all across the county. So we worked with a variety of different community-based organizations to identify what are countywide issues and gaps. So we have a list of different gaps and issues identified at the countywide level as well that could help make certain projects eligible for that funding. So we have a new batch of funding to actually study some specific areas in Sonoma County. So we took a look at that equity priority community map and identified a few locations that haven't been studied yet and that do have some transportation needs and issues. One is the South Santa Rosa Avenue corridor in Santa Rosa. So this is roughly the area between Highway 12 in the north down to Roanoke Park city limits in the south. but really focused on that Santa Rosa Avenue corridor from Highway 12 down to Rohnert Park. So as most of you know, it includes incorporated Santa Rosa, but also unincorporated areas. And it's quite heavily populated. There are over 10,000 people living in this area, and 3,500 households. And over 50% or half of the households in that area have incomes of less than 200% of the federal poverty level. So a lot of lower income households in this specific area. There's also over a 60% minority population in that corridor. And as you drive through there, it's really apparent that you can see housing, right? There's quite a bit of housing there, but it's really interspersed with industrial and commercial uses. And even though they're quite close together, it's hard to get between them, right? So the connections, at least at the personal scale and walking, biking, transit scale are pretty difficult. So a lot of issues and gaps there. So we've talked with the city of Santa Rosa. They're also planning on studying this area specifically as part of an annexation effort, and as part of their general plan update. So there's a lot of coordination going on in this area, and we certainly would like to have Sonoma County Transit involved as much as you're able in these efforts. So there's been interest for the school district in this area as well. So I think we'll have some good participation there and some potential interface with the school and parents and families in this area as well. So that's the first area we'll be studying this time around. The next is Central Rohnert Park. So this area hasn't showed up as a disadvantaged community in the past, but it has this time around. And there's a lot of development and activity happening in this area as well. So a lot of it's focused on Central Rohnert Park and the old State Farm site. So a lot of redevelopment happening there and housing development. So you can see the area here. There are two different census tracts in Sonoma County. There's the area centered along Rohnert Park Expressway and State Farm Drive. Again, pretty heavily populated, over 10,000 people and 4,000 households here. About a third of the households are low income, over 50% are minority population households. And again, there are a lot of similarities with the South Santa Rosa corridor here. There's a lot of housing and a lot of commercial, industrial, and job areas, but it's hard to get around, right? If you're walking and biking and taking transit. So again, really want to look into where people live and where they want to go. The city of Rohnert Park is actually also studying a Highway 101 overcrossing near Copeland Creek as well. So they have some funding from the region to look at that area specifically. So that'll be part of that outreach as well, as looking at the best way to implement some sort of crossing.
Is Copeland Creek in between State Farm Drive and the expressway?
You can see it on the map here. It doesn't show up very well. If you see where Rohnert Park, the words Rohnert Park are, it's just south of all of the shopping centers right there. And there's actually an informal crossing that goes through a culvert underneath.
Yeah, that's
right now.
That's what I thought.
So
don't go there during a rainstorm.
Drowned.
Yeah, so there's a need for some improvements there.
Yeah.
So there'll be a concentrated effort kind of on that need specifically as well for Rohnert Park. So this is kind of the look at the process we'll be following. We're taking an item to our board in February, and we'll be kicking off an RFP to get a consultant on board shortly thereafter. One of the next things we want to do is get a stakeholder committee together. So of local staff, transit providers, school district representatives, things like that, help guide the project and to work with the consultants to make sure they're pointed in the right direction, right? So one of the first tasks of that group will be to develop a community outreach strategy. So talk about which groups should be consulted with, right? Really prioritize community-based organizations that should be engaged, parent groups, other groups that should be engaged as part of the process in both of these areas. And then conduct the outreach, right? Get out in the community, schedule meetings and talk to people about those transportation gaps and barriers at that really localized scale. One thing I would mention is that there's a lot of outreach going on, right, already. Santa Rosa is updating their general plan. They're conducting, the South Santa Rosa plan at the same time. So we've been talking to them about syncing these meetings up, right? Having one meeting for all of these efforts. So people aren't asked to go to, 3 meetings to discuss similar types of things, right? So, we're trying to minimize that fatigue, right? That outreach fatigue. So, so we'll go through that process, that outreach process, but the end goal is to come up with that list of prioritized and identified solutions and issues, develop the final plan, and then present the final plan and findings to stakeholders, community groups, and elected officials, with the idea that we'd have an updated list for these areas that could be funded using some of these funding streams, right? To improve things in those communities. So here's the list of outcomes we're looking to achieve through this, that list of community identified projects, access issues and barriers, potential funding sources, right? So it's nice having a list of what the problems and potential solutions are, but it's important to have a path to actual implementation. So identifying some of that funding will be very important. We know of some of it, but hopefully the consultant on this project will be able to propose some additional funding streams as well. And those will all be wrapped into a final report and summary that will be available. Here's the really high level look at community outreach at this point, a number of community meetings, public hearings here at SCTA. We'll have a project website and probably some sort of online survey or mapping tool available to collect feedback, and then comments on reports and documents. So yeah, we're really looking forward to kicking this off and getting things going. As I said, things I think will really speed up once we get a consultant on board, probably March, April, that time frame. So yeah, that's just a brief update on the program. So happy to answer any questions or take any comments.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
I'm just really excited you're looking at the Central Roanoke Park area. I do a lot of outreach, and oftentimes what I hear is from people who are working or are second language learners, or they end up getting priced out of Petaluma and end up in Roanoke Park. So I often get asked about transportation to Petaluma. So I'm glad you're looking at it. And I do have people who I know would be interested in participating in the stakeholder committee portion. So when you get to that point, please remember to reach out to us again.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Chris in the room or online?
I just had a thought as far as community outreach. I know Office of Equity was present at a focus group that I attended. It was regarding equity and transportation. I forget the organization that hosted that focus group, but I know they're also doing work in some of the equity priority areas and doing focus groups based on Portrait of Sonoma that ranked some of the lowest scoring communities in Santa Rosa, in Sonoma County overall. So I think that would be a good group to consult with if you're looking at equity in transportation projects.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you for that. We'll reach out to them and let them know what's going on and invite them to participate.
So, thanks, Chris. So both areas, I think, are really, really good areas to take a look at. And, Sonoma County Transit provides service in both areas. And we're the only provider in Roanoke Park. And I was just curious about Roanoke Park. Do you know what changed from the last time we did these plans to now that made it an equity priority area? This go around? I'm just curious.
There have been quite a few big demographic shifts in Sonoma County.
Yeah.
We're seeing an overall population kind of plateau and decline. I'm not sure exactly, but I can take a look at that. I think that would be a good thing to include as part of the background for that study, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think they've had some higher density projects in those areas.
Yeah.
Which may have helped make a difference.
Yeah.
And I think that MTC has changed their
Definition.
criteria
Yeah.
over the years for identifying those communities, so there's been a number of iterations
Mhm.
um, of how those areas are identified since the last projects.
And also the area in Santa Rosa, is that a new area that has popped up? But was
It's right, yeah, it's popped up and it didn't show up before 2010. It kind of showed up around that time frame. So things have definitely, there are a number of areas in South Santa Rosa that have showed up. There's the area between Santa Rosa and Sebastopol that wasn't identified previously, but is now as well. So things are changing.
Yeah.
And as Dana mentioned, I think it's a combination of the criteria, but also actual change. So I can check in with the folks at MTC that actually do all of those calculations and
Okay.
see if they have a sense for what's happened. But I think that particularly for Roanoke Park, it'd be interesting to hear kind of how things have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do too, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Any other questions for Chris? Okay, hearing none. Thanks for the presentation, Chris.
Yeah. Thank you.
And moving on to item number 6, the regional transit connection card discounts for fixed route transit. And I think, Maria, did you have?
Yeah, nothing too formal, just wanted to provide an update on RTC, and make sure to bring it. I'll let you know if we need to put those up. I'm not sure how useful they are. So for those that are unaware, RTC is a regional transit connection card, basically allowing folks to get discounts on fixed route and then train service. And in the past, the only way to apply for the discount, there could be as much as 50%, depending on the agency, would be having a DMV disabled placard. If you had you're a Medicare recipient, a disabled veteran, or if you went through a medical verification process. For all those, you're required to have a photo taken and then be seen in person. And we have several agencies in our area that do process these. Petaluma Transit is one, Santa Rosa City Bus is one. But they've recently made a change, adding an eligibility category. And I just think it's important, to spread the word and kind of see how do we want to publicize this. Although MTC definitely has their own ideas on how they want to do it for sure, and we want to support that. But now you're automatically eligible if you're eligible for ADA paratransit service. So if you've gone through the process of getting paratransit service, you're in one of the 9 Bay Area counties and you're put into the red system, that automatically qualifies you to now get a discount on RTC. And that's important because it then promotes fixed route service, right? So for those who maybe their conditions change day to day, and some days they are able to use fixed route, it's a great encourager to do that. A few things that are a little tricky in the communication with it is an RTC card. You can get it only if you're under the age of 65. I mean, because what MTC would prefer is if you're under the age of 65, you're getting a senior clipper card. That's where the kind of messaging gets a little confusing. And applying for a senior clipper card is very easy. You just go into a transit agency with your ID versus, going through this more laborious process with the RTC card. So what MTC is planning to do, it's already public. You can already do it right now. So if somebody currently has ADA paratransit eligibility, they can go onto the website that was in our packet for 511, and they can fill out a basic eligibility application. And we can throw on screen if anybody wants to see it, but it has now a checkbox for ADA paratransit. And then what will happen is they'll just simply look them up in the red system to make sure they're eligible. But in addition to that, MTC is working on an opt-in form. And so this is one of those things that, again, as transit agencies will have to determine when do we send that opt-in form. So maybe during the application, okay, you've gotten eligibility. If you would also like this additional benefit, again, keeping in mind that it would only be people under 65. And just to add a fun little swirl, unless they need a care attendant, then they can be over 65 and get an RTC card. So there are nuances. Another barrier / challenge is a photo is required. So for example, yeah, not all agencies, Sonoma County Transit won't, doesn't process these. So then those would have to go to either Petaluma or City Bus in order to process. So I think we just need to kind of work out the kinks of how we, and that's through just easy ongoing discussion of how we bring this, this great opportunity to our paratransit passengers. So I just want to make sure to bring that to you guys.
And thanks, Maria.
Yeah. No problem.
And it was, it's as of the 1st of January, it's.
I believe that it was actually before that, but I know now, I don't know when they put it out on their website, but I know I went and checked today. The opt-in form though is not yet finalized. So right now, the public can access the basic eligibility application that has ADA as an option, but the opt-in form hasn't been finalized, I think because of some of the challenges that I've been sharing. So completely still available to do.
This is gonna be in addition to the paratransit users in Santa Rosa with the transit system, they use it for free.
Right, and with.
So they negate that or just continue?
No, I mean, it would be up to Santa Rosa how they want to proceed. In our case with Petaluma, we actually offer free bus passes for fixed routes. So we're going to continue to do that in case somebody doesn't want to opt in. But for our clients that use Smart on a regular basis, this would be a significant discount using Golden Gate. So again, I don't think it negates what we're doing because that's a better discount 100%. But something we'd want to promote if they're traveling outside the region.
So if they're applying for ADA paratransit eligibility for the first time, they'd be able to just check and opt in docs and get the RCPA card. But if they're already an
Eligible.
ADA user and eligible, they would need to fill out an additional application to get the RTC card. Is that?
Yes, but they're basically very similar. It's
Yeah.
just a signature and a checkbox in both
Okay.
cases. It's the photo component, I think, that adds a little bit of a level of difficulty. And I did speak to the representative, Lydia Elias, who handles it. She said they are working out kinks as well on their end if they need to begin to just allow people to send in photos. So I think for those who already have service, they are working on kind of mitigating those concerns around where does this poor person go to get a photo taken. But for now, something to be aware of, if you do currently have service, it's pretty simple to add this on.
They already got it in the evaluation form?
Not yet,
Not yet.
not yet. They haven't finalized the form yet, but they can apply right now for RTC card if they are in red. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, this is something that Yuri was pushing really hard for, because it reduces the number of steps people have to take and just makes it easier on everybody.
Yeah, and a lot of the questions that they have in there in terms of care attendant, permanent or non-permanent that are in red currently, they're utilizing the same way in the RTC. So again, you're not having to ask those duplication of questions. So I think it's a great move. And I think it's potentially a great benefit, especially those in the city using BART, et cetera, and expands the potential for folks using paratransit to get around beyond the paratransit service area.
Great. Okay, any other comments or questions about the RTC discount card?
I would just say from my perspective in, our older adult clients who don't qualify for this and people with disabilities who may qualify, the whole process sounds extremely confusing. And to require somebody who doesn't drive in the first place to come somewhere to fill out an application and take a picture, very, very inaccessible.
And I think that is some of the concerns that, me and our fellow transit agencies have brought up kind of again and again. What's the steps? Are we doing a paratransit ride for them to come down simply to take a photo? Can this barrier be removed? And that's what's nice about the senior Clipper card is although you still need to apply in person, it can be a little less cumbersome with the application process. So I think we're moving in the right direction, but I agree.
Okay, any other comments or questions? And we can move along to the next item, which is roundtable updates. And Mohammed, how about we start with you?
All right, service in Santa Rosa, we know this is a really dramatic change in the last 3 weeks. I know it's the holidays, but this dropped like sharply for some reason. I don't know exactly, that's in Sonoma County and Sonoma, but in Santa Rosa's dropped really dramatically. So like yesterday, we have only 60 rides, like that's like 40%, maybe less than 40% for the whole total regular day. I don't know if it's a holiday or something happened, COVID maybe contributed, because we have a lot of cases that coming through. I just don't know. But I don't know, probably in the next week, we're gonna take like a drastic measure for the COVID, because the last 3 weeks, we have at least 7 or 8 customers. They already have COVID, they already know it, but they still don't wanna jump in the bus, so. It's crazy, but, and they don't wanna put the mask because it's not like there at all, and they don't wanna use it. Even if we have to provide it with them, it's complicated right now. But I don't know what's the couple of weeks from now is gonna make, because Sonoma County right now also the case is going higher. If you can see Kaiser right now, it's everywhere now, always. Well, hoping that get better. So Yuri right now, he's working on bringing 4 new Paratransit buses. It's in the process for a long time. Hopefully we have it. So probably we're gonna have it in July, hopefully by the new year. The process, I think, this time is gonna be longer than before, because they're changing the camera systems and they're changing the logos completely. But each time we get a bus, we changing the logo again. So that's the reason why. So right now we changed it twice, and this is gonna be the 3rd time. It's gonna be fun, but we'll see. But that's gonna extend the time a little bit longer. All right, now we'll do it to Santa Rosa.
Okay, Kathleen, you have an update?
Yeah, I just want to let you guys know that in the spring of this year, we're planning to do some community education forums. So it's more like having a panel of speakers, and the audience would be older adults and service providers of older adults and people with disabilities. And one of the things that keeps coming up for us is transportation. So we would love to have the transit providers in Sonoma County come be panelists and talk about services. A good thing to talk about would be the senior Clipper card, because that's the first time I've actually ever heard of it before. And so I'm wondering, as far as outreach on that, it might be a good thing to talk about, and just basically talk about, how to qualify for paratransit and where the services are, anything like that. And then people can ask questions. So that's something we're looking to plan in the spring. And then the second thing we have a project right now in Santa Rosa and Sonoma Valley. It's called a local aging and disability planning project. And so we're putting together an advisory committee that's going to oversee that plan. It's going to do community engagement, focus groups, survey, listening sessions, and talk about, or let people talk about gaps that they see in aging services and disability services in those areas of Santa Rosa and Sonoma Valley. So for advisory board, we're looking for people with disabilities, caregivers of people with disabilities, service providers of people with disabilities. So if any of the paratransit agencies want information on this or send information out to the paratransit users, I'd be happy to give you our flyer, and everything is available on our website as well. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Kathleen. John.
Not too much to report. Our paratransit numbers were still at about half of what we were pre-pandemic. Same with bus and ferry. And then bridge, we're about 85% of before the pandemic. Interesting to hear that there's been a slowdown lately. I'll have to check. I was out the last couple of weeks, so I'm not 100% sure if we're experiencing the same thing, but thanks for the heads up. I'll take a look.
Okay, thanks, John. Maria.
Not many changes to report, and I don't have the paratransit numbers, I apologize, but I don't think there's been a major shift. But again, I will check into that as well. See, we did have an uptick in fixed route, during our holiday. We did a holiday promotion for riding free during the weekends, and we saw a 60% increase in ridership compared to last year. So it was a hit, and it was very limited marketing because we were just trying it for the first time. We just recently went to our Transit Advisory Committee on microtransit, so that is moving ahead. And as well as a fare free pilot, so lots of activity happening at Petaluma Transit. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And for Sonoma County Transit, it sound like a broken record because I keep coming to the committee and announcing that we're gonna have 3 more BYD buses. You know how these things happen where you just keep bumping it to the next month, but we're pretty confident that by the end of this month, we should have 3 more BYD electric buses. And so we're excited about that. That'll give us a total of 9 in our fleet. And concurrently, we just started off construction a few weeks ago on expanding our bus yard charging facilities. So right now we've only got 3 chargers, and that'll expand it up to 19. So that'll accommodate the additional BYD buses we're getting, and then we're going to choose some manufacturer here soon for our first 40-foot electric vehicles, and we're hoping to go out for 10 of those. So that's the excitement at Sonoma County Transit. In addition, we just put in an own order for 4 Starcraft cutaway vehicles, which should be here within the next year, and will replace some older vehicles in our paratransit fleet. That's about it for Sonoma County Transit, and I see a hand raised there. Oh, Lindsay, hi. Okay. Lindsay, do you have something to report for?
No, I was, well, first off, hello, everybody. I'm Lindsay with Sonoma County Paratransit. And I was just going to comment on the ridership for our department.
Oh, good, thank you.
As you know, well, not many know, but we have been implementing some different developments here in our department, and we've been tracking trends for the last 3 years. So the dip in ridership, from what we have known from our data, is right on par with what our previous last 3 years were. So it's about a 20% increase or decrease on certain days, especially around Christmas, but it is gradually increasing on our end by 11%. So we are seeing our increase of ridership coming back close to about October, which we were running about half the capacity that we were running pre-COVID. But I've been tracking trends, and we've been opening up our passenger portal for clients to be able to book their rides online. And so we're hoping that that gives us an increase of 15% in ridership, just spreading the word and having it more accessible instead of them having to be on the phone booking their ride. But other than that, no other news to speak on here at Sonoma County Paratransit.
Lindsay, I had a quick question for your portal usage. Do you know what percentage of your current paratransit clients, just approximately, because we were looking at a portal too as well?
Right now we're at 0.1% using our passenger portal. We had some glitches and we opened it up just in mid-November, and then of course the holiday season, and any time it's rainy, we have about 10% to 15% of our riders that day cancel just because of the weather. So it's hard for me to pull any data on how many will be projected to use, but we are pushing for them to start using the passenger portal, as well as our delegates module and our payment integration where they can pay online. So a lot of different things are happening here at Sonoma County Paratransit.
Thanks for chiming in there, Lindsay. John, did you have something to add?
I just, Maria, we have passenger portal. I'll look at the stats and let you know, because we've had it for quite a while at this time.
That would be great. And what do you use? Is it Trapeze with the portal or what do you guys use? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we're using Pass with it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Our passenger portal is with the Novus DR, the newest of TripSpark.
Okay, and Charles, do you have anything to add for Sonoma County Transit?
I think everything was mentioned so far, so I don't have anything additional to add.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, thank you. And Dana, is there a way to, I didn't realize Lindsay was on there. I thought it's great that she chimed in, but do you track people that come on board, or do you make sure that people, everybody's captured that comes to the meeting? They're coming late or whatever?
Yeah, I think Drew's taking note for the notes, on.
Old school.
Yeah.
Old school, oh, cool.
Yeah, so we have, if folks are here during, introductions, we'll capture it that way, but,
Yeah,
yeah, Drew's
you're tracking.
tracking
I got you.
Mizzen for
You got
the notes. You know, it's hard to see from that side.
Yeah, you
Um,
can't see it here.
There, so.
Yeah, emails are captured on the style of meetings. On a webinar, however, your email is captured
Okay,
for fun facts. But I'll get Lindsay on the list. I think she's on it already.
all right. I think we've covered everybody for roundtable updates. Future agenda topics. State master plan. for aging.
Yeah, so, about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, we, the committee brainstormed a list of topics they'd like to hear about and talk about at this committee, and we've gotten through a number of them, and the state master plan for aging is one that we had not gotten to yet. And my understanding is that was actually adopted in 2021. So it's been around for a little while. I wanted to ask maybe Kathleen, if you thought maybe it would be useful to talk about this at the same time as the local master plan for aging, or if you have a recommendation for doing that, or maybe reaching out to someone at the state to talk with this committee about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in line with the state so the state master plan was basically Gavin Newsom passed an order, governor's order to plan for the graying of California, which we know is going up and up and up. And so they created a plan based on like housing, healthcare, transportation, different areas of what was coming up for people in the state that the state needed to get around to deal with our graying population. So what the county is doing is the county is looking at that state plan and doing focus groups and community engagement with stakeholders on what's happening locally in Sonoma County, because we have about 30% of our population is age 60 and over. So we're looking at what do we need to do locally? Does it align with what the state's goals are? So that project is supposed to wrap up in June, and there's supposed to be a presentation to the Board of Supervisors, and then there's going to be a community, I think, like just a presentation to the community about the findings. So that's coming up at the like June, July-ish. If we wanted to plan around that, I could inform you more as the months go by of what it's looking like. If it would be, relevant, because a lot of this stuff is like caregiving, healthcare, housing, which may not be interest of this committee.
Okay. Yeah, well, if we could maybe pull out some topics that come up about transportation, seems like that would be interesting to this committee. So I'll put it on my list to check in about, in the summer and I'll check in with you about that kind of before we have a July meeting, so.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, great. And if anybody has any other topics that they can think of now that they'd like to hear about in the future, bring it up, but also if you think about it at any time, you can just send me an email.
Sounds good, thank you. Okay, moving on to item 9, other business comments or announcements.
I can make a quick announcement.
Okay.
You may have heard already, but SCTA actually received a partial award as part of the federal Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program. So it's really focused on safety and Vision Zero. So we actually submitted a $25 million application with a big chunk of construction projects. We received only a partial award for some planning activities that may be of interest to this group.
Mhm.
One is to conduct a countywide speed limit review and reduction analysis study. So, and the idea is to have a best practices manual to, how to implement speed reduction. So there's some state legislation that makes it a little easier to do that now.
Mhm.
So we have some money to do that. We also have some money to do some countywide safe routes to school planning.
Oh, cool.
So that'll be happening over the next few years. Also, we have some money to make some updates to our Vision Zero data dashboard, and Petaluma actually has $200,000 to look at Lakeville, the Lakeville corridor, and do a multimodal transportation study there. So, yeah, I just wanted to let you know in case you hadn't heard about that yet. So,
Good, well, congratulations.
oh, thanks. More work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations, and I'm sorry.
Good projects.
Okay, any other announcements, comments, other business? And I think that will adjourn the meeting, and our next one is February. Yeah, that's not it. It's March 19th. Yep. And I've always wanted to do this too.
There you go.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Good to see you,
Thank you.
Thank you. Shout out to Charles.
I know.
He wanted me to do that.
You were 1 second late, I would have just.
We're gonna do a romper room edition next time.
Yeah.
Nice. Charms.